it, Friedman observed that, quote, "We now live in an age of what a Microsoft researcher called continuous partial attention. You are now involved in a continuous flow of interactions in which you can only partially concentrate on each." Friedman goes on to quote that Microsoft researcher, Linda Stone, and let me share some of her words with you too. Linda Stone writes, "If being fulfilled is about committing yourself to someone else or some experience that requires a level of sustained attention, that is what we are losing the skills for, because we are constantly scanning the world for opportunities, and we are constantly in fear of missing something better. That has become incredibly spiritually, and parenthetically I would add intellectually, depleting," unquote. So in the next few minutes, I want to explore this phenomenon of continuous partial attention and what you're going to do about it. We all know what it feels like. If there's anyone here who hasn't done homework while watching TV and texting friends and probably eating too, I would like to beat you. Parents, how many of you have run to the grocery store and picked up the dry cleaning during your lunch hour, using the travel time to return an important work phone call and make an appointment for your kid's next visit to the dentist? This is multitasking, or more negatively, we might call it constant distraction. And there is even a field of study, maybe some of you will go into it, called interruption science, which looks at the way workers, for example, are adversely affected by data smog that lowers their productivity. Technology is almost always blamed for our ever-increasing distractedness. But I don't think, and surely it can't be just a matter of turning off the computer and disconnecting the cable, although sometimes that might be a good idea too. And I don't think multitasking is all bad. Even if we know it's easier to concentrate when we don't have Blackberries and smartphones, we can't go back in time. My theme today is the value and discipline of paying attention, however. And I do propose that the first and most important thing we can do to manage our lives in an age of continuous partial attention is simply to be aware of when and how and why we are distracted. So before I say more about this, I'm going to ask you right now to lean into the feeling, the reality of distractedness with me. Think about how your mind has already wandered since you sat down here this morning, and how hard it is to listen to one speaker without drifting off in your own mind. Let's go a little further to illustrate and experience this phenomenon. If you happen to have a cell phone or BlackBerry with you, I invite you, contrary to previous instructions, to take it out and turn it back on. Go ahead, turn it on. You probably want to, go ahead, silence your sound settings because you don't want to disturb others, but you can leave it on vibrate. And then, if you happen to have a text or email coming in, make a conscious decision about whether you want to read it or listen to me and read it later. And think about whether you want to reply. You can do that. There is no testing today. All I ask is that you think about your choice. Don't just mindlessly multitask and drift. Think about what your choice means. In fact, let's take this even one step further. I'll get my phone. I'm going to give you my cell phone number, and you can text me right now if you have a question about anything I'm saying. My cell phone number is 443-902-2110. I would ask you please to forget that number when our ceremony is over, but in the next few minutes, feel free to let me know what you are thinking, if you choose to. I've actually shut my sounds off, so we won't hear it go off, but I promise I'll read all your texts. I won't promise I'll answer all of them, but there aren't too many, I might. My point is that I have you thinking self-consciously about the possibility now, or maybe even the inevitability of distraction. So let me go back to my main point. All of us here today suffer from device creep, and I'm sure it's not going to get any better in my lifetime or even in yours. So after that first step that I've encouraged you to think about, becoming more mindful of when and how and why you are distracted, and choosing it if you wish, what else can you do? If you want to make the most of your talent and ability, you are going to have to work really hard to cultivate stronger skills of sustained attention than ever before. When everyone around you wants simple, fast, and easy, you are going to have to seek out complicated, slow, and hard. You have the capacity to do that, or you wouldn't be here today. But to use and not be used by technology to achieve all that you have the power to achieve, you will have to choose to control your attention. Here are just a few ways I think you can strengthen the muscles of concentration and focus through frequent exercise. I'm sure there are others. First, some of you have already, I have one text. Are you reading this? Yes, obviously I am. Okay, some of you have already had experiences of paying attention, whether or not you have thought about them in these terms. A student at Bates once wrote to me about helping to build a family house from the foundation up, and about the transition from seeing manual labor as boring to realizing, for example, that I was actually applying physics I had learned in school on simple jobs like pulling a nail from a piece of wood or tightening a nut with a wrench. The most important thing I have learned from all this hard work has been to open my eyes and to look for the knowledge behind these ordinary jobs. So there's one way you can do it. Looking for the knowledge behind the ordinary is one way of paying sustained attention. And as each of you looks to your own experience, I think you will all find your own moments and kinds of attentiveness that you can draw upon as you build habits of attention. I thought we had shut everything.